Hello everyone, welcome to another keyboard review here at Talkie Talkie. Before we begin, a shout out to our sponsors. This keyboard unit was sent to us over by keycapfactory.ph. This is the brand new Feker Alice 80 mechanical keyboard, and it's really awesome. It's available at keycapfactory.ph, and it will be locally available via Peripherals here in the Philippines. So do check out their stores. Lots of interesting and cute items. They sell anime collectible products and mechanical keyboards. They have a Shopee page and a Facebook page as well, all of which I will be posting in the link of the description in this review video. And as usual, this is a sponsored unit. It is sent over for review, but this will not in any way affect all the opinions and inputs that I will be giving out in this review. I will try to make this review as objective as possible. Alright? So in the past few months, ever since getting my hands on the Alice keyboard by Owlab, the Owlab Spring, amazing keyboard, expected nothing less from an Owlab keyboard. I've been really interested with the Alice Arisu layout. It's marketed as an ergonomic keyboard, and upon using these layout for several weeks now, I could tell you that it's really a fun and joyful experience. It for me personally, I think it puts a lot less strain on my hands, especially when typing for longer hours. The only downside is that you have to get used to typing with 10 fingers and not getting your hands across the split layout of this keyboard. So it does take some time, but after around several days, in my case, it took me 1 or 2 days, I'm back to my normal typing speed. The Alice layout is really interesting. It looks nice, and after the Owlab Spring, I was able to get my hands with the Fancy Tech Alice keyboard, which is also a good keyboard. Especially considering that the Owlab Spring is on the high tier price point. We do have now competitors bringing out their products on the budget category, and this keyboard is one of the recent releases in the market. I have only had one experience with a Feker product, and that would be the Feker matcha switches that they also sent in for review, and I was really impressed with those switches. I can safely say that the Feker Matcha is one of the best and top switches I've tried this year, and one of the very few switches that I will be using without even needing to re-lube the switches, and that means a lot. So when they told me that they're going to bring out a Alice layout keyboard, I was really excited. And right now here we have the product. It's the Feker 80 Alice keyboard. Really good. All right, so let's dive into the details before building this keyboard. So it's sold at 4,899 to 6,099 pesos on Keycap's factory Shopee page, depending on the variant that you will choose. It is south facing. All right. You have an option to get it bare bones, which will bring down the cost to around 4,899. Or with two switch options. That would be the Gatron Yellow Pro, which this kit came with, and the Feker Matcha. And mind you, these two switches are really good. I'm really glad that they went with this switch selection because it's a good kit. They sent me the white variant with the Gatron G Yellow Pro switches. And initially at first I thought it was the color was not really my liking, but after receiving the actual unit, it's actually not bad. The white is a clean white color, and the keycaps and the orange accent with a little bit of light blue accents on the side matches really well. I'm really enjoying using this keyboard for several weeks right now. Right? So onto the specs. All right. So this is a 65% layout keyboard with 80 keys. As you can see from this illustration, most of the things that you would be needing for a custom mechanical keyboard are already here. the list have been checked. So it comes with a keycap that is really, really good. All right. I haven't seen a kit, a stock, or a base keycap that is this good. If I'm not mistaken, these are PBT keycaps, really thick, good quality. The legends are also superb. It is gasket mounted, which I will be showing you in the building guide, and it's a legit gasket mounting system. So there's really a good amount of flex and bounce when you type with this keyboard, and that is good because there's a lot of quote-unquote gasket mounted keyboards out there on the budget category, which really doesn't count as gasket mounted design. This one, on the other hand, really soft, really bouncy. It has a silicone muffler pad, which they call, but basically that is your plate foam. It's made out of silicone, similar to that of the KBD67 Lite, if you're familiar with that. It comes with a south-facing PCB, and that is awesome. This review unit is north-facing, but the production unit and the ones that will be sold will be south-facing, and that alone in itself checks and separates this keyboard from a lot of budget keyboards. So south-facing PCB. And then you have this buffer muffler, which is basically a very, very thick lowercase silicone. And it's tri-mode. It has tri-mode connectivity. You have Bluetooth option and 2.4 gigahertz connection. It also has a toggle switch for Mac and Windows. And going through all of these specs, you would know that this keyboard is something else. It checks a lot of the boxes that I'm looking for a custom mechanical keyboard, and it's selling at a budget price point. That is amazing. All right. With all these being said, let's now hear how the stock form of this keyboard sounds like. All right, so there you have it. That's the stock sound test. I'll be honest. I find it really boring. I find that it's too muted and too deep sounding for my taste. And honestly, that's not really bad because a year ago, when I started out this hobby using the KBD67 Lite, this is exactly what I wanted my keyboard to be. So a lot of the beginners in the hobby is looking for this deep, talky, muted sound profile. It's just that at this point, I find it too boring and not my liking, all right? But for the beginners out there looking for the sound profile, I think what Feker did over here is learn from all the popular mods and all the popular sound signature that beginners want. Because again, this is a budget keyboard aimed and I think targeted to those starting out to go deeper into the hobby. And that's why they have all of this silicone plate foam, silicone bottom sheet to achieve that very deep and clean sound signature. And I think if you get this keyboard with the Feker Matcha, it's going to be more deep, more talky sounding. And again, that is really good to many. So I'm going to show you now the modding guide, and let's see if we can make the sound lively and better. Out of the box, the keyboard is already pre-assembled, and that is a very good thing, especially for beginners out there who are not that confident in building custom keyboards from scratch. So what we're going to do right now is to open the keyboard and mod it. There's no screw connecting the upper and the lower case. You just have to separate them. You can use your fingers. You can separate them by hand, but I prefer using a small flathead screwdriver. Just be careful when prying the thing open, because if you're not careful, you can scratch the case. Be sure to remove the knob. Just pull it up and out before opening the upper and the lower case. So after a few tries with this kind of mechanism that is very common in budget keyboards, you'd get used to you'd get used to it. You'd get the hang of it. So as you open the case, you will see that there are these gaskets already in place on both the upper and the lower case, which is really good. It saves a lot of time not putting those sticker gaskets one by one, and I was really happy to see those already in place. However, there's one thing that really annoys me with the mounting system. So in the plates, you have this gasket socks that you kind of see similar in the OwlLab keyboards, the one from the Mr. Suit. So I think it carries the same principle. So I find it really redundant that they have gasket socks and then those gasket sheets on the keyboard. But upon doing some research, I think there's been an issue with the plate moving around and being disaligned. So I think these gasket socks are here to keep the plate in place. But what I find really annoying is that these gasket socks, they come off very easily. That when I was modding the keyboard, I lose a lot of these pieces from time to time, and it's very hard to find these small thin gasket socks. So be careful when removing and placing back those gasket socks together. The next thing that I encountered while modding this keyboard was the JST connector connecting it to the PCB. Kind of takes some effort removing, so be very careful for newbies out there. So what you have to do is apply pressure on each of the edge of the JST connector before pulling it out. Do not attempt to pull out the cable without loosening the locks on the sides of the JST cable. Lastly, on the bottom row is probably the thickest lowercase quote-unquote foam that I have seen in any keyboard, and this is made out of silicone, and it's just super thick. It's so thick that it contributes to the weight of the keyboard, and this is also the reason why the keyboard is so muted, so deep and talky. And again, if you love that sound profile, then that is a good thing, because Feker has done everything for you. So for my keyboard, I removed the lower silicone, which automatically brightens up the sound of the keyboard. I decided that the silicone plate, quote-unquote foam, should stay, because in my experience, budget keyboards benefit a lot from this plate foam. It keeps the sound of the keyboard more cohesive, more clean, which that's what I prefer. All right. So what mods are we going to do with this keyboard? We're going to do the Tempest Tape mod and the PE foam mod. Nothing new, nothing rocket science. That's the popular mod nowadays. Almost everyone knows how to do that, but nonetheless, I will show you how I did it. So first things first, we tune the stabilizers. These are plate mounted stabilizers, which are really good. I don't need to replace the stabilizers. I just use Zion Studios lubes for tuning them. I use the stabilizer lube for the wires and the switch lubes for the housing, and that's it. Out of the 5 stabilizers, all of the wires were balanced. There was just one stabilizer set which I felt like I need to rebalance the wire, but even with that one, the balancing work was very minimal. So very good. I like keyboards with really good stock stabilizers, and this is one of them. So we now proceed to putting in the PE foam mod, and you have to remove the standoffs. There are 4 screws which connects the PCB to the plate. Once you're done with that, you remove the plate and then the silicone plate foam, and finally you can proceed with putting in your PE foam. So for this one, I used the really cheap electronics PE foam that I got off from Shopee. I got a lot of this hanging around. For the past few months, I've been using the IXPE material and the EVA material for the PE foam. This one was my OG PE foam material, which after a while I got tired with its sound profile, but honestly, it's also really good. It just depends on the keyboard that you're using it with And I find it to be better with those quote-unquote budget keyboards like this one. So let's see how this will turn out. So as you can see, I'm not really being obsessive compulsive with this part. You can do better, I'm really sure, but for me it works. I just sketched out the borders of the plate, I mean the PCB, using the silicone mold, and then I cut it from there. The final product would look something like this. So as a note, a lot of enthusiasts will tell you not to use the standoffs as it will affect the flex of the keyboard. But for some keyboards like this one, I don't think it will really affect the flex that much, or maybe at all. And I needed the standoffs to hold the sandwich of the PE foam, the plate, and the foam, the silicone layer all together. So that's the reason why I used the standoff for this keyboard. Before putting in your switches, do not forget to puncture holes in your PE foam, as again, this is just a makeshift PE foam, so you have to puncture the holes to sit your switches properly. Not doing this might cause misalignment and damage your hot swap PCB. Next up is the tape mod to complete that package of the quote-unquote beginner's marbly keyboard. All right, so I used 2 layers of masking tape for this one. I feel that 1 layer is not enough, 3 layers is too much, so let's just go in between. So nothing extraordinary, this is just your ordinary masking tape. So 2 layers on each of the PCB. Be very careful when cutting your tape. Do not make my mistake. I almost cut through the JST cable connecting the left and the right PCB. And honestly, you can stop here, but I felt like there's going to be some hollowness because I removed the bulk of that silicone lowercase, so I replaced it with a polyfill. So the polyfill is a good material if you want to remove hollowness and yet retain the flex or the bounce of your keyboard. So after that, you just have to reassemble everything back in place again, with the gasket socks giving me a lot of headache. So Feker Alice, please do address that in the next iteration of this keyboard. So for this build, I used the Zaku switches because again, I felt that this keyboard was really muted. So what better switches to put if you want to make it loud and lively than the Zaku linear switches, alright? So let's hear the sound test. So that is the modded sound test, and I must say I am really impressed at how far the sound has gone from the stock configuration with the simple mods and switch replacement that we just did. It's really crazy. It's really crazy good. I could imagine that the sound profile will further change with different switches and improved keycaps, but mind you, the keycaps on this one, stock, it's amazing. It doesn't sound cheap at all, and I don't even find the need to replace them. The modded sound reminds me a lot of the Owlab Spring, and a lot of the viewers also noticed that when I posted the shorts video sound test on my YouTube channel. And of course, let's be realistic. It's not gonna be like the Owlab Springs. The Owlab Springs will definitely have a playing field on its own. It's on a different level. But for what this item, this keyboard is priced at, I am not complaining, and in fact, I am very impressed. The modded sound test is really marbly, really poppy, and clean. And that is unexpected of a keyboard at this price range. I was expecting that it would sound better, but I didn't expect it to sound this good. And I love it. I really do. It has a sound signature that of an Owlab foam type keyboard, which again, some people would say they don't like it. Some people would say they're tired of it, but for me, it's good. It's really good. Really happy with this keyboard. So let's compare the keyboards that I have gone through for the past few months. The Alice keyboard specifically. How does the Feker 80 stack up to my Alice experience? So far, I have tried 3 Alice keyboards. That would be the Aulab Spring, the Fancytech Alice, and this one, the Feker 80. For discussion purposes, I would also include the ACR Pro 75, which has an Alice counterpart, and a lot of the reviewers told me that the experience would be pretty much the same. To keep this discussion short, I will simply rank these keyboards from 1 to 4, and I will tell you why my ranking is such. And again, take this as an opinion with a grain of salt, because this keyboard hobby is really, really subjective. All right. So let's go. My top pick, my number 1 pick would be the Aulab Spring. Among the group, no question, it costs 4 to 5 times as much as the other keyboards listed there. The Aulab Spring is really out there. A lot of options for customization. Sounds really solid. The leaf spring mounting system, top notch. All the other keyboards mentioned here does not even come close. All right, the Aulab Spring is really, really an endgame keyboard. All right, next to the Aulab Spring would be this, the Feker 80, and that means a lot. For those of you who are wondering, how close is it? It's far, but it's really good, especially when you consider that this is priced at 5,000 pesos, 1/5, 1/4 the price of the Aulab Spring. Really, it's just really good. The last keyboard which got me really excited and which got me really impressed to this level was the CIY Gas 68 or 67, the Gas keyboard. I thought that was the budget keyboard of 2022, but then came along this unit. So I love how it looks. I love everything about it. It's really that good. The third would be the Fancytech Alice keyboard. I love that keyboard. It's just that it has only one B key, and for me personally, I am very dependent on having 2 B keys on my Alice keyboard, because from time to time I switch hands, pressing either with my left or right that B key. So it's not a biggie for everyone, but for me, I think it's a big deal. And I like the Fancytech Alice because I like how it looks. I like the sound profile, and it's south facing. So south facing it's not mandatory, but it's important for me when I build my keyboards. And lastly, it's the ACR Pro Alice. So again, I haven't experienced it really. I've had experience the ACR Pro 75. It's a good keyboard. It's a good kit. Comes with everything you need. Good keycaps, good switches. I just don't simply dig the aesthetics of that keyboard. All right. And given the competitors, the Fancytech Alice, the Feker 80, that might be my least priority when choosing. So again, that's how I rank these 4 keyboards. So number 1 is the Aulab Spring, number 2 Feker Alice, number 3 Fancytech, and then lastly the Ako. All right. So there you have it. For the past 20 minutes or so, we've been dissecting this keyboard thoroughly. It has been a pleasure sharing to you my experience with the Feker Alice 80, which I believe is one of the best budget keyboard releases of 2022. It's simply really good and amazing. It has the whole package. It has a knob, 65% layout, Alice layout, and mind you, if I haven't told yet, compared to the other Alice keyboards that I've tried, I find this one really unique because it's slanted, it's sloped towards the middle part, being a bit higher, which I think makes the typing feeling even more relaxed and more neutral, more natural. all of my other Alice keyboards were just simply flat. This one, there's an inclination towards the middle. Really good. Tri-mode connectivity, legitimate gasket mounting with a very good amount of flex. The typing experience is soft. It has everything that you're looking for. South-facing, good keycaps, good switch selection. You can purchase it bare bones if you want. It's really good. It's really good. They also offer a Feker wrist rest if you want it. I personally don't usually use a wrist rest, but this keyboard is a bit on the higher side. I've used it without and with. Both are fine. Again, you have to purchase this separately, but it's really nicely done. The material is really good. Nothing bad I can say about it. So there you have it, the Feker 80. For those of you wanting to jump into the Alice layout, afraid that it might not be the one for you, so you don't want to splurge that much, I know that 5,000 to 6,000 pesos is not cheap, but for what you're getting for this package, it's a steal. It's a good keyboard for the price, for the budget range, for the competition. I think it's ahead of the pack. It's really good. So Feker, thank you for sending me this unit. Thank you for making an awesome keyboard. Really impressed with the brand and the product. So that is it, guys. Thank you for watching. I would really love to hear your comments. Please comment in the comment section of this video. For those of you who haven't liked and subscribed yet, please do so. It will really mean a lot and help this channel grow. If you do have any suggestions for keyboard or switch review, hit me up in the comment section. I will gladly try to find one and review it for you. What is next in Tokidoki? There's the Keychron V1 keyboard for review, some switches, some keycaps, a lot more to expect. Awesome support. Love everything about what I'm doing right now with this channel, guys. So thumbs up, like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.